Head Gravity Tour and Head Speed MP probably have the biggest hype from Head's whole catalog. Speedline obviously is the best seller because, well, we have Sinner and Djokovic behind the rackets, so yeah, marketing is quite strong there, regardless of what the players are actually using. And when it comes to the Gravity, for some reason it is very popular, especially among influencers and maybe in States, more in Europe. In Europe, I think Extreme is a bit more popular, but for sure Gravity Tour made the industry quite hot. You can see the specific reviews for each racket on my channel, but I thought it would be cool to compare these two to each other. And let's start with the obvious things: feel, stability and forgiveness. When it comes to the feel, Gravity Tour is winning here. It has a thinner beam, a slightly smaller head size, it feels a bit more classic in hands. Speed MP in comparison feels a bit more bulky, so it doesn't cut through the air as easily. But on the other hand, we have stability and a slightly thicker beam of the head speed MP definitely wins here. In general, Speedline is the most stable offering from Head's catalog. Gravity is not so far behind, but you feel the difference. So you can say that feel of the Gravity is more classic. It is a bit easier to accelerate the Gravity Tour, but on the other hand, it is a bit harder to hit it clean. So this difference of feel and stability is already making the picture a bit more clear. If you want to be a bit more versatile player, Gravity Tour should be better. If you want to be a bit more consistent player, probably Speed MP. When it comes to the forgiveness, well, it's quite complicated because from the string bed, Gravity Tour is more forgiving, but from the head size, Speed MP is more forgiving. In my case, I think the combination of head size and stability is making the Speed MP overall a more forgiving racket. Now, when it comes to the power, in general, Speedline is marketed as a slightly more powerful option. Maybe it would be better to say power and control, and Gravity should be forgiveness, control, versatility, maybe. Definitely the Gravity Tour has it all, kinda. It has a lot of power, a lot of spin, a lot of control. I like to say that Gravity Tour is a mix of E-Zone and V-Core rackets, but I think hybrid technology, hybrid era of Speedline is making it a bit more control oriented. If I had to choose which one is more powerful, to be honest, I would say it's a draw. Now, spin and launch angle. This is a key difference between Gravity Tour and Speed MP. A slightly spreaded string bed on the Gravity Tour is making the spin potential much bigger, even though the head size and hitting surface of the Speed MP is bigger and the launch angle follows the spin potential as well. I feel like the difference between minimum and maximum value of height above the net with the Gravity Tour is the biggest. So sometimes I am losing the confidence of how high I will hit above the net. With the Speed MP, maybe the average is slightly higher than the Gravity Tour, but overall the maximum value is probably lower. So I would say the launch angle of the Speed MP is much more consistent. And that could be the deciding factor between the Speed MP and Gravity Tour. I just feel a bit more in control with the Speed MP, even though I would say normally I would put it in a slightly higher power potential as a DNA of the racket. Maybe it's a hybrid thing, it made the racket more consistent in feel, more control-oriented, or maybe it's just the difference of the string pattern, where with the Gravity Tour it is much bigger. Spacing of the string bed is just much wider. But of course the response, hard to say which racket shoots off faster. Do I feel the catapult effect? Not really. I mean, yes, It's compared to the Prestige line, I feel this boost in power potential with the speed and Gravity Tour. So Gravity Tour kinda feels like it holds the ball a bit longer, maybe, but Speed MP with hybrid technology is not so far behind, I would say. So yeah, it made the racket a bit more classic in feel. It holds the ball, I feel the pocketing sensation, and I can guide the ball. I think that in general, rackets that are very good for guiding the ball should be more consistent in launch angle, the response, because it's just harder to guide the ball if you don't know what will be the outcome. With the Gravity Tour, I have to think more with spin. With the Speed MP, I feel a bit more confident to drive through the ball, and the ball should land inside the court. So we have a paradox here. With the Gravity Tour, despite being a slightly thinner beam and slightly smaller head size, I feel like with the Speed MP it is a bit easier to play a more linear ball. Should probably suit the flat hitters a bit better. One thing I want to add, leather grip. I think Gravity Tour is asking for it. Leather grip makes the Gravity Tour more complete. And Speed MP, I think you want to keep it as light as possible. Some fine tuning, of course, but you don't want to boost the static wave too much. And Gravity Tour, with its classic potential, with the leather grip, I feel like it becomes a whole thing, a whole concept. Without the leather grip, it felt kinda clubby. So if I had to summarize, I would say Gravity Tour is more fun to play because it feels more classic, but the spin potential is much better. The shot selection is much wider. You can play a bit more dirty tennis with it, with different shapes, different heights, different penetration, different power, different spin rates. So it will confuse the opponent. However, with the Speed MP, I am more consistent. It suits my counterpuncher style a bit better. So maybe Speed MP is more for winning. However, it lacks some flair. It is less exciting to play with the Speed MP. With the Gravity Tour, even the looks of it, whew, wow. Amazing, amazing paint job, and yeah, both rackets could learn something from each other. Gravity Tour could be a bit more consistent in a launch angle, and Speed MP could be a bit more spin friendly. However, if I had to choose between those two, I am choosing Speed MP, mainly because it is a more control-oriented racket, despite being in a power segment of Heads catalog. Thank you guys, that's it. Make sure to subscribe and see you soon. Bye bye.